How's it going, guys? Thanks for tuning in to the 50th episode of the Phil Talk Sports Podcast. Only took me like 3 years to get here, but I do have a great show for you today. Joining me is going to be Anderson Rathbun, the general manager of the Burlington Sock Puppets, formerly the Burlington Royals baseball team. He talks about how shortly after joining the club, the rebranding process they went through from the Royals to the Sock Puppets. Prior to this position, he was actually my boss at the Daytona Tortugas. So we talk about, we reminisce a little bit about our time working together in the past 2.5 years or so. So hope everyone enjoys this conversation with Anderson. Thanks for all the support, and here's to 50 more. Okay, joining me on the show today, he is a diehard Cleveland sports fan. He is a proud Clemson alumni, and he is the general manager of the Burlington Sock Puppets, Anderson Rathbun. How's it going, man? Been a long time.
Dude, it's been too long. This has been fun, though. I appreciate you having me on.
No problem. We've been wanting to do this for a while, probably pre-COVID, I think is when we were kind of talking about it, and then the world stopped, and then you took a general manager position, and then a lot has changed since then. So at least we're finally getting it in.
Yeah, that's what she said, but yes.
I didn't know how long that was going to take, but I'm glad we got the first one out of there.
Kid show. It's a kid show.
Another title that I could give Anderson is he was a former boss of mine at the Daytona Tortugas. Prior to this year, he was the director of corporate partnerships, which that didn't mean much to me. I just knew he was my boss at the time. And he is probably 90% of the reason that I'm working there to this day. So even though he has moved on to bigger roles, it's we had about 2 seasons worth of working together, and that's where this relationship kind of stems from.
Yep. No, it was awesome, man. You were one of the bright spots of my time in Florida. That whole crew, man. You, Josh, Joey, everybody. You guys were a bunch of fun to be around. So I'm glad you guys are still kicking butt down there and having some fun.
I think that's a great place to start too. You kind of mentioned Josh. I originally how this whole camera crew got together. I think it's a funny story to tell, and Josh will see this later and get a kick out of it. It's important to let everybody know. He basically was interviewing for a parking position and ended up, I guess he overheard something about a film crew and basically chased Anderson down in the parking lot to let him know that he had people to do this.
Yeah, he came in the office. I don't remember what I was doing, but it's during the orientation or job fair or something, orientation. And I was talking with Austin Scher, who's the GM in Danville now. He was the AGM at the time.
Shout out to Austin.
And yeah, Austin came up to me with this goofy looking fella behind him. I just had to put that in there for Josh. And he's just like, yeah, we were talking about our video board, and this was before the video board was even 100% installed. So the video board was installed, I think a week and a half before the season, if I remember, Phil.
Yeah.
But Josh came up to me and said, hey, I heard you guys are doing this. You guys need people. I said, yes, please. So if it wasn't for him, honestly, if it weren't for him, we wouldn't have had the crew of that we had. And if it wasn't for the crew that we had, shoot, that video board would have been a black screen for a very long time.
I did wonder back then, we were all very lucky and very excited to do it. And as the season went on, we realized like, wow, had we not stepped up, I don't know that they would have had anybody in there. So really it was a good match for both of us. So for anyone that wants to know, Josh, when you hear this later, a lot of this is because of you running up to him. So, cheers to you and thank 100%. You for doing that. That brings us to where we are now. So you've since made the jump to the GM position. Are you tired of, or are you used to the GM being attached to your name, or are you still getting warmed up to it?
I don't think I'll ever be truly used to it, to be honest. Like, it's still weird saying, hey, I'm the general manager of this team. But I'm trying to get used to it. It's fun. It's definitely, it's a lot. And I'm busier than I've ever been or ever thought that I would be in my life. But it's definitely fun. It's rewarding. And I can't ask for to be in a better place than Burlington and Alamance County here in North Carolina.
So when you first took the job, the team still had the name Burlington Royals. Yeah. And did you ever think, whether taking this job or any other, that you would be overseeing a rebranding of a franchise or a club of any sort?
No. I mean, it was a pipe dream. I had a sports marketing class back in my sophomore year of college, junior year of college, maybe. And one of the capstone projects for that course was a rebranding project. And I had a blast with it and had fun, but never in my life actually thought that I was ever going to be a part of a rebranding of a team. So it was fun. It was an experience like no other. I never want to do it again. One is enough. I think we knocked it out of the park, no pun intended. And I'm really excited with what we came up with. But yeah, that was definitely a project and a half to work on.
I was a little disappointed that my submission of the Burlington Bandits didn't get a little more play, but I do love the name. And I got to ask, was it you that came up with it? Was it someone else in your office? Where did that even come from?
So it originally started with Ryan Kerr, our owner, who was the team president, for all your listeners, back in Daytona from 17 through the first half of 20. And yeah, kind of like we knew we wanted to honor the textile history is huge here, like, or is still huge and was even bigger for the past 150 years. So we knew we wanted to do something with that. And socks was one of those products that was made here. Pantyhose were invented here. Couldn't really think of a fun thing. But socks, I mean, there's just a lot of avenues you want to go with, but we wanted to be different. We didn't want to go SOX like the Red Sox, like the White Sox, like the Aqua Sox. One, because it's already been done. And two, because it's not the product that was made here. The product that was made here was the SOCKS. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to honor that product. But the Burlington Sox is boring. And the Burlington Blue Sox, even if it was SOCKS or White Sox or whatever, it's still done before, even though it's not CKS. Mm-hmm. So Ryan came up one day. He's like, how crazy would it be if we named ourselves the Sock Puppets? And I actually told him many times, partly joking, but partly serious, if we actually rename ourselves as the Sock Puppets, you have to find yourself a new GM. And I hated the name at first. I thought it was ridiculous. I didn't really see the value in it and the marketing abilities behind it. But as we storyboarded the brand more, as we worked and molded this identity, it was clear that this is by far the best choice to go. And we've had a lot of success here in its first 4 months of since being born.
One of the best things about minor league baseball and on any stage is like some of the ridiculous names that are out there. You got like the Rumble Ponies and the Iron Pigs. And is there anything is there any name that you could bring to, your league that they'd say no, aside of something vulgar? Like, is there any limit to what you could truly name a team if given the opportunity?
No, I mean, you saw a team in 45 minutes west of us rename themselves the Carolina Disco Turkeys. So I think that's definitely a trend you've seen specifically over the last 10, 15 years in minor league baseball, because these brands and these organizations are realizing, one, the marketing ability to have a brand that's crazy like this. But I think sometimes I think a lot of teams take it too far. And a lot of people probably think we took it too far at the Sock Puppets, but we are named after something from our community that's a part of our community. There's a lot of these just random names that have nothing to do with the community that they were named after. So I think if you do it right, if you have a wacky name, as long as it's done right, mm-hmm. and it connects to where you are, where you're located, what was there, what is there, then I think, there's no limit outside of it not being vulgar. But yeah, I mean, if you just want to be wacky and try to sell t-shirts for a year and have the brand fall flat on its face in year two, then go all out, I guess, and don't worry about anything. But yeah, if you want to do it right, if you want to have a wacky name, do it the right way and connect it to the community that where you're at.
Why do you think the NFL team in Washington still hasn't picked a name and you guys were able to put it together in a few months? You just got better people in your front office, you think, or what do you think's taking those?
1,000%. The general manager for the Burlington Sock Puppets and the general manager for the Washington Redskins football team aren't even comparable. All right. But it's also, we're a very small market team. We're not an NFL team that brings in billions of dollars, let alone millions of dollars. So it's a whole different beast, I'm sure, rebranding an NFL team, especially coming off the legs or the trail, I guess, whatever the saying can be, of a moniker that has been in the spotlight for its scrutiny for it, the meaning and the logo of the name. So I think they're trying to be very, very careful. But I also think that the Washington football team was one of the worst branding decisions that went well. Merchandise flew off the shelves and jerseys flew off the shelves. So I think they want to milk that one more year. If I were them, that's what I'd do at least. Mm-hmm. And then get something solid. So they have 2 years to make sure that they do something right. and they have 2 years to milk the fact that they actually named a national football team the football team. So
it's funny with rebranding. Sometimes, no matter how negative they get, like I remember when, our team here in Daytona, previously the Daytona Cubs, since 1993, I was born in 92. I don't have any memory of the Cubs not existing. And when they left, it was a huge deal. And I remember the Tortugas being picked, and people didn't love it. And now there are people at the park that don't even know they had a previous name. Yeah. So sometimes, like, time heals all. But, the immediate blowback, if you can weather that storm, I think for most cases, people, if it's not totally out in left field, no pun intended, that, people end up rolling with it after a while.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's what you see specifically here too. I mean, I remember I had a conversation with a partner of ours in the beginning of March, a month after we rebranded the sock puppet, rebranded the sock puppets. And the guy sat down. The first question he said, and this was the first time I ever met him, he was like, "What the hell were you thinking?" And I told him, I explained the brand, I explained the story. And by the end of the meeting, I mean, just a month later, he's like, "All right, that makes sense. I'm a fan now." Okay. So like, I think a lot of it has to do with time, but also just the education of, because I will say, I think we did this rebrand right. I think we connected it in a perfect way. Not that we needed to connect it to something specific. I mean, I think it naturally has a connection, but I think that there's just so many components of our brand that we haven't even released yet, that people are just going to be like, "That's cool," kind of thing. And that makes sense. I see now why they wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, time definitely it takes a toll on people, and it helps heal the expectations, because when you have this rebrand and you announce this rebrand and this team is going through a new change, people's expectations are all over the place, because you have no idea. Like the name that this team could have is, the potential names, I should say, are unlimited, right? So I think the expectations are all over the place. And when you pick a name like the sock puppets, like the Tortugas, because I mean, that's not a common name. Not many people know what a Tortuga is, which is Hispanic for a sea turtle. Not many people understand it. And if they don't think of that name, ideally, and automatically they're going to be like, "Oh, why'd they pick that name?" Mm-hmm. You saw that with Danville Otterbots and that. I mean, you saw that across the league. I mean, Danville and us were both owned by Ryan and Brittany Kerr. We had the two, I'd say, most outlandish name changes, but everybody else had ridiculous, or everybody else had comments that were hating on their name. Yeah. Along with a lot of comments that were praising that name. So I don't think you can ever please anybody. It's one of those things you can't please everybody at first, but sure. But yeah, it's the shock factor.
Was anything else, like, obviously sock puppets went out, but it's always funny to look at even like NBA teams or something, like the top three names were this, so we went with that. Was there anything close to being it if it wasn't the sock puppets?
Yeah, and no, honestly, no. Mm-hmm. So we had over 1,200 submissions from the community, and I don't want to say that they weren't bad ideas. There were some fantastic ideas, mm-hmm. and some fantastic names. So I don't want to say that there weren't other great names that people could, or that we could have chosen. There were a lot of good names, but I think from a consideration standpoint, as soon as Ryan kind of brought up the sock puppet moniker, and we knew and the community had an overwhelming want to honor the textile specifically. I mean, as soon as we saw that, and as soon as Ryan came up with sock puppets, I mean, it was a no-brainer from there.
Mm-hmm. So not only, your team has rebranded, you mentioned other teams in your league, but your league itself has done kind of an about face on where they get their talent from and stuff. And you've made a Michael Scott remark already, so I'll do another one. Maybe explain it to me like I'm 5. What is the change in your league based on the last time they were actually playing?
Yeah, so Major League I'll start off with this. Major League Baseball kind of realized that they don't really have didn't in the past have a true hand in the development for players that didn't get drafted out of high school and chose to go to college until they get drafted out of college. So Major League Baseball created a handful of leagues, and us being one of the premier collegiate level leagues, that they are going to hopefully help that development of the player to, as soon as they get drafted, expedite their journey to the majors. So our players are now going to be coming from invites from USA Baseball, which is the governing body of amateur baseball in the country. They're the ones that control the USA men's team, the national team, the 19U team, the 20U team. I don't know how many teams exactly they have, but the 18U team. etc. So to have them as partners and have Major League Baseball as partners are the two best people you possibly could have wanted, when you're reforming a league. So we're excited about that. So these players are going to be coming from a variety of different schools across the country. We have kids from UCLA, from Vanderbilt, if you've ever heard of that baseball school, from Illinois, Oklahoma, Oregon. We have some schools down in Florida, FIU, you name it. We have a lot of talent coming from across the country, and they're all going to be pretty much, I'd say, 18 to 20-year-olds, which the age group is going to be a lot more condensed than what it usually be here in the past. In the past, when we were a rookie affiliate, we would have anybody from a 16, 17-year-old, first-time signee, international signee, all the way up to a college draft pick who's 22 years old. So, I mean, you look at the age differences there compared to what we're going to have now, it's going to be a lot more condensed. And I think from a talent pool as well, the parity between team talents on paper will be pretty much even across the board. Now, how they play is how they play, right? That's why you play the game.
Sure.
But as far as the parity going into a season, on paper, it's going to be pretty even, which you never saw here in the past. I mean, if the Yankees had a great draft, or if the Royals had a great draft, or whatever, you would see that be reflected in, that roster, obviously, like you do in Daytona. So I think I'm pretty excited about that aspect. And just to have Major League Baseball specifically as a partner, and USA Baseball too, it's pretty special.
So with a lot of these guys that are maybe like higher prospects, for you mentioned like Vanderbilt, like big programs, their eligibility stays intact playing in these leagues, right? So they can play in the summer and then return to their program. So it's just a summer, almost a showcase of all this great collegiate talent.
It's a developmental showcase league. Yep.
So I would imagine being in the stands, you don't see a dip in talent to maybe what they were prior to seeing, when the league was set up a different way.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I think we're going to see an uptick in talent, and I try to tell people that, and they think I'm just trying to sell them a pile of crap, but I really truly believe with how we're getting these players, the type of players that we're inviting. I mean, it's going to be some good baseball being played here in the Appalachian League for many years to come, and I'm really, really excited about that.
And I do love with all these rebrandings with these leagues that, like, you're no longer married to your affiliate. Like, affiliates can change and the names won't affect. I know when I really saw the difference when the Tampa Yankees here rebranded to the Tarpoons, because the Yankees are married for them. They built it in their stadium. They're going to be their affiliate forever. But on the off chance that happens, it doesn't destroy the brand they built in their city. So I enjoy seeing, there's nothing like minor league baseball in any other sport. Like, there's other spring leagues for football, and basketball has leagues, but minor league baseball is a special thing that now they can build their brands no matter who they're affiliated with. And I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, 100%. And it gives a huge opportunity, especially for an organization like ours, a very small market where we have 2 full-time staff. In Daytona, before COVID hit and everything, we had, I think, like 16 full-time staff. I went to a staff of myself and Thomas, our AGM, and it's crazy. I mean, but to have our own brand now just gives us a lot more flexibility on what we can do with what we have, and just gives us another opportunity to grow our business. So we're excited for the potential of just everything that's happening. I mean, I've probably said excited 1,000 times on this podcast alone, but it's true. I mean, you can feel the excitement when talking to people here locally. You can feel the excitement just talking to our interns, talking to other people around the league. It's crazy. It's going to be a good summer.
I will say this, since COVID, the full-time people here in Daytona, it's a lot closer to 2 than it is 16 now. It's not quite 2, but the number is not much farther off from that. So
yeah.
Do you think the year, obviously you try to look for positives in the negatives of COVID, was the year kind of off to get this together? Do you think that, how much would you say that benefited you to get ready for your season that kicks off by the time this airs, probably like the same week here in early June?
I'm going to be honest. I'd say it could have helped more. And that's 100% on me. I didn't know what I could have done then. Looking back on what I'm doing now, specifically 2 weeks before the season, these are things I could have done last year. I just think about them. So it could have helped, but honestly, that last year, I wouldn't say it helped a lot. In this, I would say it definitely helped from a preparation standpoint. It hurt from a overall personal, professional standpoint for having nothing really there except for 22 straight weekends of high school tournaments where I had no life. So, I mean, the whole year last year was awful. But I will say having just a year to acclimate a little bit to myself to everything was helpful. But yeah, that last year could have been a lot more helpful if I would have taken advantage of it. And that's on me.
Well, I'm excited to see you guys hitting the ground running, and I know you only have so much time. Busy guy being the GM and everything. So I have kind of a lightning round of questions to get you out of here, if that's cool. So since I've known you, you're Mr., as I mentioned in the intro, diehard Cleveland sports fan, Mr. OHIO. How does someone like you go to Clemson and not Ohio State? What's that? You can give me the short version, but how did that come about?
Yeah, so I was actually named Anderson after Anderson, South Carolina, which is a town adjacent to Clemson. Okay. And my dad really wanted me to go there and or at least apply there to say I got into the school that he named me after. So I was actually dead set on going to Case Western, which was a small D3 school in Cleveland, Ohio. I never even applied to Ohio State. I was a Ohio State fan, but I just never wanted to go there. Okay. So I ended up going. We took a tour to Clemson. I fell in love with it, and the rest was history. But yeah, I became a diehard Clemson fan the minute I got to Clemson, and all of my Ohio State friends were ragging on me, and I just saw the ignorance that is a lot of Ohio State fans, and it just turned me off. And now I'm diehard Clemson, and honestly, I couldn't even care if Michigan beat Ohio State.
Okay, so that it's totally like out of your. You don't even care anymore, really.
I'll want them to win sometimes if my friends are nice to me, but if my friends are ragging on me still, oh God, I'll be rooting for Michigan for sure. It's crazy to think about.
Kind of a piggyback off that, being the Indians fan that you are, working for the Tortugas, being affiliated with the Reds, was there anything weird about that at all for you?
No, I mean, once I started working in minor league baseball back in college, I kind of lost a little bit of the fellowship of in the fandom, I guess, of specifically baseball. I mean, I'm a huge Browns fan still, but Indians, I'm just not as big of a Indians fan as I used to be. Now I still, if they go to the World Series, I'll still be cheering. I'll still try to get tickets. But yeah, I mean, working for the Reds was just more cool that it was a Ohio team that I worked for. And I have a bunch of friends that are Cincinnati fans. So that part was cool. But yeah, there was no, bad blood or animosity or just like behind closed doors kind of thing. No, I enjoyed my time in Daytona or Cincinnati.
I do remember asking you that at one point, saying like, do you hate Cincinnati, growing up? And I remember your answer was something along the line of, I don't hate the Reds. I have friends that are Reds fans and I hate them, I believe was your answer at the time.
1000%. And that goes across the board for a lot of different sports teams.
So the second year that we worked together, 2019, I kind of moved slightly. I shifted a little bit from, working camera to handling a lot of the music in the ballpark, including walk-up songs for the guys. If maybe in your old playing days or even now, if you had to pick a walk-up song, what would it be?
That's a good question. This by Darius Rucker is like my all-time favorite song, but it's not really a walk-up song.
Sure, yeah.
But I'd probably go maybe like I wouldn't want like a traditional like hardcore walk-up song. I'd probably go something like Sparks Fly by Taylor Swift or something. Something fun, something that gets people just like singing along to.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good one. So man, I just want to thank you. I know you've been really busy around here, and I don't know if I told you going into this, but this is my 50th episode of the podcast. So I'm glad you were able to be a part of that. Yeah. And really you're part of the reason that this show exists. Cause after getting the job and I saw all the interesting people I was going to be around, I'm like, man, I'd love to get some of these people on a camera and, interview them and stuff. And I've had Justin on, I've had Kenny on, I've had Joey on pretty early on and everything. So really, I just want to end this by, on YouTube and everything, saying to you that I really appreciate all that you've done for me, and anything that happens professionally or personally is going to stem from the opportunity that you gave me. And I can never thank you enough for that, my friend.
Well, dude, first of all, I mean, don't thank me. You took advantage of an opportunity that honestly, I was lucky to have you in, and you crushed and you continue to crush it. So none of your success is from me. All your success is just from you, dude. You're a rock star and you're killing it every single day. So it's always fun to see you on Instagram, see you on social media, just posting your good work. So keep it up, dude. I'm really proud to have been at least somewhat of a boss to you. But I really hope our paths cross soon.
I hope so too. I hope I have you on again, and I'll end it on this. Your legacy in Daytona is cemented because we're still playing the Top Gun song for every home run.
Let's go.
So keep that.
That's all I ever wanted, man. Awesome. You rock.
All right, man. So that's Anderson, everybody. I appreciate your time today, brother, and I'll have you on again sometime soon.
Just let me know. See you, Phil.